It was another quiet night at the office. No phone calls, no messages, nothing but junk mail and overdue bills to keep me company. Seems nobody wants to hire a real private dick anymore, a professional like me. A guy who does the detective work nobody else wants to do. A guy who wears hats and walks around in a black and white world. I began contemplating a more profitable line of work, like politics.
We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to you.
All right, folks, good afternoon and welcome to the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on Radio Central, AM 830 WCRN. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and you can join the conversation for the next hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Our text line is also up and running at 617-297. Did I lose there? My apologies, folks. I accidentally hit a button and stopped that. Again, my sorries. That wasn't a signal or anything. It was actually brushed a button and turned my mic off. My bad. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. And the text line, like I said, running at 617-297-8388 as we broadcast from the Cameo studios, meaning the Cameo cam is on. So not only can you tune into AM 830 WCRN as well as TuneIn app with thousands of other radio stations streamed from all over the world. But you can take us anywhere on the TuneIn app, and that's fantastic. You can tell Alexa to play WCRN, and she'll do that, no questions asked. And if you go to my social media platforms at Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I, like X or Facebook, you can watch and listen to the show. Or you can go to Rumble, because we do it live there, or LinkedIn profile over on the station's Facebook page and YouTube channel as well. All kinds of ways to watch, all kinds of ways to listen. But what's important is you can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. Today, back at HQ flying the board, he'll get you set up and into the studio for two-way talking conversation. And obviously, I've got to talk about, and I got to hear you guys talk about what's going on in Texas. This is a little deja vu. So what's going on in Texas is there's a redistricting issue. Let's put a pin in that just for a second. And talk about what's going on. The Democrats have decided they're going to flee. They're going to flee the state to get rid of the quorum, and then it can't happen. So they've gone to Ohio, even Boston, and Governor Abbott isn't going to have any of this. So a couple days ago, 50 Texas House Democrats just fled, took off, left the state to prevent this quorum. So halting a special legislative session, something the governor can call. And Governor Abbott called it. And it was to pass a Republican-backed congressional redistricting plan. I know, we'll get into it. Stop yelling at the radio. We'll look at all this, including the 2017 SCOTUS decision. The Texas House requires 100 of the 150 members present to conduct business, as do most boards, right? With 62 Democrats in the chamber, the absence of 51 or more can totally stop legislative activity, period. And most Democrats traveled to Illinois for some reason. I guess J.B. Pritzker is going to host them. I don't know. He's a billionaire, right? Well, others went to Boston, Albany, New York to avoid this vote, to just avoid it, to run away from it, to not do their job, which is possible. And again, nothing's a given, even in the redistricting, right? It has to do with what people elect. But the argument here that it could create 5 new Republican-leaning seats for the 2026 midterm. So this proposed redistricting, supported by Trump, aims to redraw Texas congressional map mid-decade. Yes, that's what most of you were just screaming at the radio about, right? because we redistrict based on our census. We take our census every 10 years. This is constitutional stuff. Founding fathers said, you know what? Senate's the Senate. There'll be 2 senators every state. That's not a question. And they didn't used to get elected. They were appointed. But again, another discussion. In the people's house, that will be determined as a representation of a number of people. So if as the population grows, we don't change the number of congressional members. We just have them represent the voice of more, right? But if the population shifts, so does the seats. If all the population is gravitating to, I don't know, Florida or Texas or Illinois, and they only have 5 members of Congress and everyone's left California and they've got 29 members of Congress, it doesn't make sense. So this is the founding fathers did. So every 10 years, we take that census, which is a side note, when you got J.D. Vance and many on the right and conservative and Republicans saying, wait a minute, people here illegally should not be counted in the census. We can count that they exist. We should have an idea how many illegals are in the country. But that is they as a number should not be the calculus in the districts, because they're technically not constituents. They shouldn't be voting. They're not allowed to vote. They're not legally here. So by simple principle of fruit of the tree, we should not be recognizing them as part of this process. Nor do we recognize or should recognize people with green cards or people, I should say more with the work visas here, rather, who can't vote. Yeah, well, they can pay their taxes. We have no problem taking their taxes. But that's the argument there, because it skews the seats. And think about it. If we didn't count all of the illegals that we count now in the census for the population, how much of the population would drop in certain blue states? So that's just a side conversation. Back to this map and the redistricting again, Trump supports it. Democrats argue this map is racially gerrymandered, suppressing Black and Hispanic voters, their influence, particularly in areas like the Rio Grande Valley, Austin, and Houston. Now, Republicans defend the plan as a legal adjustment to bolster their slim U.S. House majority, of course. And they claim that the current maps are, in fact, unconstitutional. How so? Well, in some historical context, this is the 3rd time Texas Democrats have fled to block legislation. First of all, let's talk about this. Do you remember this deja vu of it, right? In 2003, they left to oppose a mid-decade redistricting pushed by then House Majority Leader Tom DeLay. Then in 21, they fled to D.C. to block election integrity laws. Now, both efforts ultimately failed. Remember the pictures in the plane and drinking champagne, and that one, I believe that integrity one, because they were so dead against voter ID and keeping the integrity of elections. In 2021, walkout, that lasted 5 weeks before the Democrats returned, restoring the quorum and allowing the very legislation they were arguing about to actually get passed. So a couple of days ago, the governor, meaning Abbott, threatened to remove these fleeing Democrats from office, citing their absence as abandonment or forfeiture. And I'm on board with the forfeiture, right? If you don't show up for the ball game, do you not forfeit to the other team? This isn't a medical issue. This isn't an emergency. This isn't an accident. This is electing not to go to work so that work cannot happen. Like, you could stretch it and call it a lot worse things, but that's what they're doing. So I go along with that, but it's done by both sides. But anyway, So Governor Abbott is saying the abandonment here, your absence is abandonment and maybe forfeiture of their elected roles under the Texas Constitution. So he set a deadline today, 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock for their return. So they'll have a quorum and they can do the vote. Now, he also warned the Democrats fundraising to cover the daily fine. See, by the way, I don't think I mentioned this. There's a $500 a day fine as long as they stay out from each member of the state legislature. So he's saying, hey, Democrats, if you're fundraising to cover that 500 daily fines for absence, could face felony bribery charges. Think about that. If you take any money not to do your job or to throw an election or to interfere with voting, that would it not be a bribe? You're not casting your vote and you're stopping them. You are affecting the election for money. So he's saying, you know what? Under Texas Penal Code 36.02, that qualifies as felony bribe charges. Here's the kicker. Donors could be involved in that. So if you are donating to cover that 500, you're bribing that state legislature. And a Texas Ranger could be knocking at your door. That would be interesting, right? So Abbott vowed to use extradition authority to bring back out-of-state felons. This went 0 to 100 real quick, huh? And don't forget, we have Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton down there, and he echoed Abbott, calling for Democrats to be found, arrested, and brought back to the Capitol. Though out-of-state jurisdiction, those have very limited threats. You have no jurisdiction in Illinois or Boston. So this is a combination of, that's serious and political theater, right? And how do the Democrats respond? Well, we can get into that, but we do have to take our first break here on the first day of this week and the first full week here, or actually, the first full week of August here at AM 830 WCRN. Wow, it's gone by fast, folks. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation, 508-871-7000. Lines are open and available, so stick with us. We'll be back in 2 and 10, folks.
Did you know most chicken restaurants fry their food in inflammatory canola oil, the kind linked to chronic inflammation and health issues? At New Chicken, we're rewriting the fast food playbook. Located at 318 Park Avenue in Worcester, Mass., we serve up delicious comfort food with a conscience. Our chicken is humanely raised and free from hormones and antibiotics. Then fried in clean, heart-smart avocado oil packed with nutrients and flavor. And our fries, forget the greasy stuff. Ours are cooked in traditional, savory beef tallow. It's how fries used to taste before processed oils took over. No factory oils, no synthetic shortcuts, just real, honest food made for people who care about what goes in their bodies. At New Chicken, your health doesn't get sidelined for convenience. You get both, flavor you crave and ingredients that matter. Stop by today and taste the difference. New Chicken, where fast food finally grows up.
This is Jerry Doherty, host of Making Money Last, right here on WCRN. Like all business owners, I'm interested in why people choose to work with Boston Independence Group. So I asked my clients. The most common response, Jerry does not try to be all things to all people. Boston Independence Group is specialized, focused solely on retirement planning. My customers enjoy the difference. We do one thing, and we do it exceptionally well. Help other people live better in retirement. That's it. If you're ready to retire or making plans to retire, we can do for you what we've done for hundreds of other retirees throughout New England. Live better in retirement. Just give me a call. I'll show you how. My toll-free number is 877-772-1776. Again, that number is 877-772-1776. And you can visit us on the web at bostonindependencegroup.com. bostonindependencegroup.com.
All right, folks, welcome back here to the second segment of the Monday edition, the first day of the week. No, actually, wasn't it? Yeah, Friday was the first, so it's not. But the first full week here of August on AM 830 WCRN. Hope your weekend was fantastic. You can join the conversation for the remainder of this hour, as you know, at 508-871-7000, 508-871-7000. And don't forget the text line is up and running at 617-297-8388. Text that, appears on the screen here in real time. And of course, we're streaming it from the studio. So you can watch and listen on my social media platforms at Joe Mangiacotti Show, Mangi, Rumble as well, LinkedIn profile. All right, so we're talking about what's going on with Texas right now. Democrats fleeing the state, physically leaving the state so that they can't have the quorum. And the Democrats' response to these threats that I'm talking about, that are they threats or are they just simply, this is what I'm going to do and what's going to happen? So they're responding. The Texas House Democrat Caucus defiantly responded to Abbott's threats. How? By saying, come and take it. That's a reference to Texas revolutionary history, signaling their resolve to stand tall in this one here. Guy down there, Chris Turner, state rep, emphasized legislators' right to deny a quorum, arguing Abbott cannot legally remove lawmakers for representing their constituents' interests. I think that has a little merit there, but they are messing with the normal business of the state legislature, are they not? What say you? Now, Democrats supported by JB Britska, they plan to stay away until the special session ends or they run out of food at Britska's house. And the session ends in late August, aiming to block the map and highlight its impact on what they say is the minority communities. Now, I'm going to take just a pause here because to put some of this, what's going on in Texas, and then what's going to happen later, because Texas does this, California is threatening to do this, but you got to remember something. California did this kind of thing. They kind of started this messing in the gerrymandering. Of course, gerrymandering goes back to, yes, of course, Massachusetts, named after a Massachusetts politician who finagled the bagel on the districts to further a particular party. So gerrymandering is birthed by a Massachusetts politician. But this latest messing with the districts actually goes back to 2008 redistricting and the questioning of gerrymandering in California, because in that year, 2008, California voters passed Proposition 11, the Voters' First Act, to establish the California Citizens Redistricting Commission, the CRC, transferring redistricting power from the state legislature to an independent body of 14 citizens, 5 Democrats, 5 Republicans, 4 independents. The intent was to create unbiased, fair district maps by removing the partisan influence, prioritizing criteria like equal population, Voting Right Act's compliance, continuity, and preserving communities of interest. Right? Right. So the thing on this, California said, we got a call. Let me pause for a second. 508-871-7000. 508-871-7000. Let's go to the phones. Mark has been waiting patiently. Say, hey, Mark, what say you?
So how many of these jamoked Democrats from Texas, how many of them split? You got a number?
I think it's 51, but don't hold me to that.
Well, that 51, what does the state of Texas pay them all $100,000 cash on a barrelhead just to stay the hell out of the state ad infinitum? What do you think of that idea?
I think people would be fine to fund that if Abbott asked for it, but they'll come back. They always come back, Mark.
You heard what I said, 100 grand.
Yeah.
And yet,
they make that easily.
For a lot less money than that.
Yeah, but then they don't have the, see, they make a lot of money because they hold that job. That's worth a fortune.
What job? What job?
State rep.
Well, like I say, maybe we'll have to sweeten the pot. It'll be worth it to the people who live in Texas to be rid of these bums. Maybe give them $500,000 apiece.
Maybe they should just vote them the hell out of office.
That ain't going to happen. You know why. Same reason they don't vote them the hell out of office here in the 2nd Congressional District of Massachusetts.
Which brings us back to the issue of gerrymandering and redistricting in a fair manner.
There ain't no gerrymandering here. You know that. That's
No,
a
it's just named
conspiracy
after the
theory.
state.
That's a conspiracy theory.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have a good one, man.
Sure it is. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Always a great call. But yes, look, as a side thing on this, and I know if you listen to the show and you've heard me talk about redistricting, because there are a couple pet peeves I have on this stuff, and gerrymandering and voter district, voter ID obviously is a big one. Also, districting. We're at a point, folks. We've had for years, but we have the AI ability to take this out of the partisan people, because no matter who you put, whether it's this 14-member board I'm talking about at the CRC in California or what have you, they're still human. They still have biases and all of that. But you know who doesn't? An algorithm, a computer program. We can simply take that and tell the computer to draw the districts based on what they're supposed to be drawn on. In other words, how many voters live here, and just this is how many people each district needs to have who can vote in it, how many citizens, and the computer will do it all. And it's going to draw the lines based on pure logic and pure fact, and it's not taking into consideration if they have a Hillary or Trump sign in their yard. It's not going to take into consideration, as it should not, the voting history of that house or that citizen. Humans do. So we can solve the districting of voter districts with AI. It's a computer program. The computer draws equal districts. That's it. Your address is here. You vote here. You're in this district. Sure, the person next to you might have to go to a different school because they're in a different district, but it's fair. And by gerrymandering and altering these districts based on who's going to vote in the history of voting, not their eligibility. That's the other thing. It should not be based on who actually votes. It has to be based on who's a citizen there registered to vote and can go vote. Where do they vote based on population? That's it. Anyway, when you mess this up, it ripples through and you don't have the accurate representation. Because if you were running in that district for that seat, whether city council, state rep, or whatever, you are running for the district. But if it's been slanted to your favor for your party, then you can run totally to that party. You don't have to worry about any opposition from the other party or defending your position because they don't have the votes to take it. But if the district was drawn, again, by AI, a computer algorithm program that doesn't take any of that stuff into consideration, your pool of voters that you have to campaign and win with are who they are. And it could be a 40-50, a 40-60 split, 50-50, 70-30, whatever it is, in my opinion, that's the fair way to do it. But 2008, California started messing with this Voting Rights Act compliance. And despite the CRC's mandate to avoid partisan data, a 2011 ProPublica investigation revealed that the Democratic operatives covertly influenced the process. See, party leaders working with the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee enlisted local voters, elected officials, and community groups to submit testimony and maps that aligned with the Democratic interest. And they presented it as, yeah, you'd guess it, grassroots efforts, orchestrated, paid for grassroots efforts. So this fair redistricting push configuration that preserved the Democratic strongholds in California in 2008, like keeping Rose Mead a rep there in her district. These actions suggested a coordinated effort, right, to shape the maps. So the resulting 2011 maps in California used in the 2020 elections gave Democrats a notable advantage. In a 2018 Public Policy Institute of California report found that while the CRC maps were more competitive than prior legislator-drawn maps, the congressional plan showed a small advantage for Democrats. And the other part of this is, and we should talk about to give all this context, is the 2017 Cooper versus Harris decision, Supreme Court decision struck down in North Carolina's congressional maps. So North Carolina did a little gerrymandering, for racial gerrymandering. And this went all the way up to the Supreme Court in 2017 for the Cooper versus Harris decision. And it's a key lens for looking at Texas's current redistricting drama because of the racial component, where Democrats have fled to block the GOP map. So what does this mean for fair districts, racial equity, and your vote, of course? Well, we have to take our mid-show break. And when we come back on the other side, we'll talk about the Cooper versus Harris decision and how that plays into Texas. And what say you on that? 508-871-7000. 508-871-7000. Lines are open and available, and our text line at 617-297-8388. Stick with this, folks. We'll be here 2 minutes, 10 seconds. Back then.
Time now for the forecast from the Boston Independence Group Weather Center. Call Jerry Doherty today at 877-772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
I'm meteorologist Sherry Spearn. Here's the latest Boston 25 weather on Radio 830 WCRN. We've got smoky skies today with high temperatures in the 80s to about 90 degrees. Tonight it's going to be refreshing as temperatures drop back into the 60s, and you're going to find Tuesday and beyond a little bit cooler. In fact, temperatures in the 70s up to about 80 degrees for the rest of the week. Those are actually below average temperatures after today. I'm meteorologist Sherry Spearn. You can hear Boston 25 live for the morning drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
More live and local radio is next. Stay tuned to Radio Central, 830 WCRN.
Hi, folks. This is Mike Stacey, head professional at Norton Country Club, welcoming you to the start of the 2025 golf season. Norton Country Club is a championship 18-hole golf course located just minutes off of 485. The course came through the winter grid, and we're open for daily fee, as well as having membership opportunities and outings available. Our clubhouse is a great venue for your wedding or group gathering needs. If you're interested, call 508-285-2400, extension 1 for events, or 103 for golf, as well as nortoncountryclub.com. Hope to see you out there.
Polar Park is the place to play, so treat yourself to a private suite at the best ballpark in AAA. Suite rentals are the best way to enjoy a fully catered and climate-controlled experience at the park. Whether you choose to watch the game from inside of the suite or out in your seats, it's the ultimate experience for a special occasion. Visit woosocks.com or call 508-500-8888 to reserve your suite today.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second half of the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show right here on AM 830 WCRN. I am Joe Mangiacotti. You can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. And our text line, 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388. That's how you get into the studio for two-way talk and conversation. Let's go to the phones. Ken's waiting patiently. Hey, Ken, what say you?
Hello, Joe. I know this is a big interest issue for you. You really get into the weeds and what's happening here, there, and everywhere. I kind of have an overall view towards it, and that is it's really mostly up to the states. There is some federal jurisdiction that comes in place. I guess some of this racial component, the SCOTUS has stuck their neck in. I don't know either way, but what I do like, Joe, is we're not the old Republican Party anymore. We get out, we fight it out, and we don't pull punches. We throw back at them punches just as hard as they have to us. So that's nice. But honestly, like I've heard some people, like Jimmy will call it, this isn't fair. Why did they change Texas in the middle? This has nothing to do with the census. Well, I don't care, Jimmy. Hey, if Texas has a rule that lets Texas do what they're about to do, let Texas do what they're about to do. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, it is absolutely up to the states. But see, Ken, I really think that it can be taken out of the bias of the people, and a computer can draw it, because all the district is supposed to be based on the population in a geographical area, and you take the number of people in there, divide by the number of reps for that state, and that's how many districts there are, and tell the computer, well, draw the lines to give equal amount of people. Say, I don't know what it is in Texas, say it's 60,000, 40,000 for state rep, and I think it's 160,000 people per state Senate seat in Mass. I don't hold me the numbers. They could be very old, but that's what it was at one time, I think, when I ran. But the point is, let the computer say, okay, 40,000 people live in here, and that's it. That's the district you're in. And the computer isn't taking your yard sign, your voting history, or even if you actually go to the polls. It doesn't consider any of that. It just considers the fact that this is how many people live in this geographical area. And you know what the districts will look like? Regular puzzle pieces fitting together, and not some kind of weird fish or monster like the second congressional district that can go from New Hampshire down to New Bedford at one time. They would be normal looking, kind of grouped in, and your district would be a geographical area that looks normal. Now, it's not going to be perfect lines, but you get what I mean. That's how we should draw these, Ken.
I think you come up with a nice idea. It sounds fair. But what's the chances of that happening in Massachusetts? Oh, it's a fact.
No, because you're taking the power out of the controlling party.
Well, but you're missing my point, is that, yes, this is how you do all that, what you just laid out, is at the discretion, of either the controlling party, which for the rest of our lives is probably the Dems in Massachusetts, or you can have, I don't know if it's possible legally, if you could bring it to the votes that they have every 2 years, you know what I'm talking about, but where effectively the voters decide an issue. But of course, the last one they decided by what, a 70% margin?
Referendum question.
Yeah, referendum question. I don't know if a referendum question would get you what you're describing, but even if it did, look what they did with the audit.
Yeah,
they ignored it.
Exactly, and they've done, and that's what California did. Here in Massachusetts, we can look at dozens and dozens of examples of where there was a referendum question. The people did let the legislature know how they felt, and they went ahead and did what they wanted, or the opposite anyway. But I'm saying too, right now, with the way the political climate is and the fact that the pendulum has been swinging back and common sense is coming back in, if we don't get how we district our voting districts done now, it will never get done. Like the momentum for common sense and this kind of thing to come in is coming in. Even the movement for term limits, I don't have it in front of me. We've picked up because that's a constitutional amendment, and we're at, I think, 30 states, right? And what do we need? 38. So I mean, there's movement there.
You'd have to have the Constitutional Convention. I love the idea, but I know it's never going to happen. I literally went to a meeting in Massachusetts when I was living there in favor of that. Met with probably 6 people.
I understand what you're saying, but I still am of the belief that just because you think it ain't going to happen, you don't not try.
I hope you're right.
You know, just try. You know, keep that momentum going up.
Yeah.
Let's urge our legislators to district based on computer programs so they're fair and unbiased. I mean, these are the same people that want blind hiring, right, and all that. Well, take the bias, the influence, and the power peddling out of redistricting and gerrymandering. Retire gerrymandering once and for all.
You're saying that you want to take the power away from them?
That's what I'm telling you, which is why this is an uphill battle.
Exactly.
They're not going to sit for that crap. It just isn't going to
And
happen.
the bottom line is we have an upper hand in Texas. There's a decent chance this happens, and I cheer them all the way, just like the Dems do wherever they can get an advantage. But for the most part, it's just going to be fought out state by state because that's what the founding fathers intended.
Absolutely.
How to design the voting.
Absolutely. All right. How's your New Hampshire? I've been out. I mean, I was involved in New Hampshire politics years ago when I was the news director in Nashua, but I really haven't paid much attention up there. And you guys, I think in New Hampshire, don't you still do?
Well,
does New Hampshire still meet every 2 years, not every year?
Well, no, they meet each year. They pay them, $100 a year.
That's and a plate. $100 a year in the state plate.
Yeah. Somehow they just don't get into all the troubles you guys do because they pay them so little. I love it.
Yeah, and they have a lot more people, right? Like they have a big, like a lot of. I mean, it's almost one of those things where everybody in the street takes a turn being an assembly person there.
You got it. We even have we've had in the past bumps that were, I guess they don't call them bums anymore. You know what I'm talking about? People on the street that somehow want a seat until people figure, hey, wait a minute, how did that happen? And they find some way to kick them out or replace them, or just defeat them the next.
Here in Massachusetts, right? If you get in, you get a good base, and if you get on a committee and a chairman, you're at 6 figures, and you're per diem, and you don't have to break a sweat. So it's a pretty good gig. And most people who are state reps and senators in Massachusetts also have another business, whether they're lawyers, insurance, real estate, something else. So this is a secondary income, what have you. But enough on that. Ken, thank you for the call. Appreciate it.
All right, Joe.
Take care. All right, folks, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. Lines are open and available. And we're talking about the situation that's happening right now with Texas. Governor Abbott put the 3 o'clock deadline for these members of the state legislature to get back into the state of Texas to be able to give them the necessary numbers they need to hold a vote. Now, what I was talking about going into the mid-show break was the 2017 Cooper versus Harris decision struck down in North Carolina's congressional map fiasco. And it put the spotlight on the racial gerrymandering. So in North Carolina, they had District 1 boosted the black voting age population to over 50%, claiming that it was needed for the VRA compliance. But the court said there was no evidence a majority black district was even necessary. And the second one in this case was District 12. And that was packed with black voters to protect Republican seats elsewhere. despite the state's claim it was about politics, not race. And the court saw through that, citing irregular shapes and map makers' statements. So just the weird shape and the map, maybe the designer behind this spoke their mind on the record. Now, going back to these shape things, again, I still say that's solved with a simple computer program. Really is, folks. And I mean, we use this technology, not we, the government, but think of any of these real estate apps that you have, right? Where you draw lines. You can go on those things and takes the map and say, you know, show me where all the houses for sale in this school district. And it knows all the program, it knows all, all the properties, and you can feed in the census information and it will draw it for you. And you won't have these weird shapes. There'll be normal shapes, and it will truly represent the cross of the people living there. And that's what the district for an elected official is supposed to be. They're supposed to be representing all the people who live there, not one group, all of them, which means when they campaign and they do their job, they have to listen to the wacko lefty, the wacko righty, the earth-loving person, the agnostic, everybody they got to listen to. So the key takeaway on this 2017 case is race cannot trump fairness. The court made it clear states can't use race as the primary factor in redistricting without hard evidence. It's needed to protect minority voting rights. Districts must be compact and cohesive and not just tools for partisan gain. Remember that. They have to be compact and cohesive. So Texas proposed 2025 map. This is called in Texas, you'll probably hear it on the news. Maybe you don't. They don't really say those things anymore, but Plan C-2308. Totally under fire, causing this exodus for what they're saying, creating 24 white majority districts out of 38. Despite the massive population growth of minorities. Democrats say it splits voters in places like Tarrant County, echoing Cooper's red flags. Again, the court said race isn't supposed to be trumping fairness. The DOJ flagged 4 Texas districts as unconstitutional for combining Black and Hispanic voters, potentially violating Cooper's strict scrutiny standard. But we have to...
Looking for a fuel and food stop that truly stands out? Experience the Yatco difference. At Yatco, we're dedicated to bringing you the best customer service, the highest quality products, and a commitment to making your life on the go easier. Yatco has 15 convenient locations across central Massachusetts, and now our newest spot at 75 Quonsigamut Ave in Worcester. Yatco, where every stop keeps you going. Are you looking for a holistic approach to your health? One that supports your body's natural ability to regulate, adapt, regenerate, and heal? Look no further. The Bioregulatory Medical Institute, BRMI, a nonprofit global organization dedicated to advancing the science and art of bioregulatory medicine, welcomes you to their free and rich library of resources. You'll find articles, podcasts, videos, and more at brmi.online. BRMI believes health freedom is a basic human right, honoring medical ethics and the innate intelligence of the human body. When your body is properly supported, it will thrive. If you're looking for the root cause of illness, physical, emotional, or spiritual, visit brmi.online. brmi.online.
Life is full of changes. Some we choose, some we don't. But how we handle change, that makes all the difference. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and I'm bringing you Handling Change, a brand new show here on WCRN. Every week, we'll tackle life's biggest challenges and profile a local business or service that can help you navigate them. From career shifts to health, finances, and family. Whatever life throws your way, we've got you covered. Don't miss Handling Change. Thursdays at 10 a.m. on Radio Central WCRN 830 a.m., where New England comes to talk. All right, folks, welcome back for the fourth and final segment here on the Monday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Handling Change. That's a fun new show. It's only a half hour on Thursdays at 10, but we just give an opportunity for people that you hear on the radio, people you see and maybe deal with in businesses, community leaders. If you have any suggestions on somebody you'd like to hear on Handling Change, reach out to the station, give us an email, a message on Facebook, or call us, and we'd love to hear about that. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That is 508-871-7000. Get you into the studio for two-way talk and conversation. Lines are open and available. What say you? So I'm going to shift gears a little bit. Voting thing, we'll see what happens at 3 o'clock. You know where I stand on I hate the gerrymandering thing. Let a computer or true, you're not going to find an unbiased person. We all have biases, right? Let the computer figure that out, and that solves that problem. So this Cincinnati brawl that happened July 26th, and this poor woman, Holly, has brain trauma. They've arrested some of the people in that. It occurred in downtown Cincinnati, out at the Love nightclub. There was a jazz festival. The incident captured on viral bystander video. Remember, there was over 100 people watching this, dozens of people videoing it, and 1991 call. One. Mob attacked. Left 6 people injured, including this woman identified as Holly. I know Vivek Ramaswamy has talked to her. She's a single woman, working class mom. She was knocked unconscious while she was trying to break it up. Now, interjecting yourself into a physical altercation can be dangerous, folks. You know, if you're Tyrus, maybe you have an advantage there. If you're a woman that's not on the fight circuit or boxing circuit or Olympic gymnast, and you have children, take that in consideration. And I know most women want to help and stop that violence and so forth, but it can be very dangerous, as Holly found out. And I know we like to call a lot of women Karens, but when she sees a man being beat down and she's trying to reason and stop them and she gets knocked cold out, maybe calling 911 was the extent she should have got involved. I'm not judging or anything. I'm just saying I feel so bad that they did this to this woman. But she has a brain trauma from this. She has spoken publicly since the attack. She's recovering from a very bad brain trauma, her words, including severe concussion, hemorrhaging. She's staying out of sight because there's ongoing threats. Get that. She's cold-cocked, knocked out, left there on the street, has brain trauma. Who is the POS that would continue to threaten this woman's life? And she's out of work too, by the way. It's just, it's beyond. Anyway, a give, send, go campaign. Now, I know a lot of us know the term GoFundMe, but a lot of people, especially more conservative people, right, they've shifted away from GoFundMe, because what did GoFundMe do? They practiced editorial, right? Not that there was anything wrong, like it was in Rittenhouse. Didn't they close his account? And then GoFundMe wasn't allowing money to be raised, I think, for the Canadian truckers. I don't remember all of the issues, but again, very partisan, overstepping, the scope of what they should do. Either you're a business and you're fair to everyone or not. Anyway, so Give, Send, Go company, which is the same thing as a GoFundMe, authorized. The fund was authorized by Holly. It was created by Benny Johnson. And it was to raise about 25 grand for her medical legal security, lost wages, real world consequences of something like this, right? Not working, you got wage loss. Now she needs security. But as of yesterday, that Give, Send, Go campaign for 25,000 goal has raised over $260,000, making it the top trending fundraiser on that platform right now. So good. Good. Notable donors, Vivek Ramaswamy, governor gubernatorial candidate. Benny Johnson, of course, the talk podcast guy. They each contributed $5 grand. And it's for Holly's recovery and short justice. And she said, Holly, in one of her statements, I think it was with Benny, saying, I never want any mother or daughter to have to endure this again. I will fight to ensure justice, so help me God. Now, the arrests. 4 of the 6 alleged assailants have been arrested as of yesterday. I don't know if anything happened today yet. With Cincinnati police actively pursuing 2 remaining suspects via their fugitive unit. So they arrested Jermaine Matthews. He's 39. He's charged with 2 counts of felonious assault, misdemeanor assault, 1 count of aggravated riot. He's posted bond. And in Ohio, because I wanted to know this, you are all, if you're part of the group, regardless of how many kicks to the head or punches you put in, if you're part of the group, you get charged or can be charged with the worst of the crime, by the way. Dominic Kittle, 37 years old, also charged with felonious assault, aggravated riot, $150,000 bond. His lawyer noted he suffers from paranoid schizophrenia. A Merriweather, 34, remains in custody. Dicria, I'm not sure how we pronounce this, Dicria Vernon, 24, also remains in custody. The investigation is continuing. Police analyzing additional footage. There was so much footage of this. And some newer released posted video shows racial slurs yelled during the brawl. So that might change the dynamics of the charges, right? When you start introducing that. And I don't know if you saw this mayor out there, Aftab Pravella. He's vowed to hold all involved accountable. But you know what I'm hearing and seeing in the is these politicians talking about holding the victims responsible too. And if they did something atrocious, yeah, they should be held responsible. But no matter what they did, none of that we know of anyway, merits, warrants, or excuses the beatdown that these people got. Cincinnati mayor says there is no place for violent crimes in Cincinnati, whether it's a fight or a gun violence. We will pursue those responsible and we will hold them accountable no matter who they are. Really? Okay. Let's see what happens with that. Again, this was the one with 100 witnesses or participants and only 199. All right. Again, my bad. I'm sorry that I put my brush the button. There we go.
Now you're
All
back.
right, you got me okay. Sorry about that. All right, we're running out of time. I wanted to bring up, and that was my fault. I brushed the button. We're trying to take a sip of tea, but this Sydney Sweeney American Eagle campaign thing is absolutely cracking me up. For the record, it is a clever marketing campaign. It is not a dog whistle to Nazism or eugenics or any of that other crap that they're trying to get you to believe. Okay. And now, since all this came up, Sydney Sweeney's been doxxed for her political reasoning or position because she happens to be a registered Republican. And now you got the left accusing the brand of promoting eugenics, white supremacy, through the jeans pun. Jeans with the J, jeans with the G. The backlash amplified over social media. Look, Sydney Sweeney has great jeans all over the place. And you got to remember back in the day, remember the who was the one from the Blue Lagoon? Remember that ad that she had when she was like 14? And at least Sydney is all covered up in jeans and so forth. It was Brooke Shields. That was the Calvin Klein campaign for Brooke Shields. So this is absolutely ridiculous that they're going after this. And Trump found out she was a registered Republican on Air Force One, I guess. He said, hey, I love her. I love the ad now. The left's reaction reflects, the tendency to overanalyze, politicize, innocuous content. And progressives have long championed identity-based framework, right? Arguing that race, gender, sexual orientation, often framed as tied to genes, should influence opportunities and income. So where'd that go? For example, affirmative action policies and diversity initiatives frequently emphasize racial or gender categories as proxies for systematic disadvantage. And when this lighthearted, look, we're against the clock. We got to wrap up Monday edition. Hey, we got political guests joining us for tomorrow's show. So same bat time, same bat channel, back here at AM 830, WCRN Radio Central, at 1 o'clock for the Joe Mangiacotti Show. Joe out, folks. Have a good day.